What's good? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Luminous Creators. My name is Brandon. Happy New Year, happy 2020, start of a new year, new decade. We're bringing in a lot of new energy, a lot of good stuff going on. I know that it seems a little grim, at least maybe for some of you that have been following the news or social media, how we killed the Iranian general Soleimani, and there's already talks of World War III and all these different crazy scenarios that people are talking about, and some are happy, some are calling for no war, and everybody's got their own opinion. So we'll cover a couple of these topics, and first of all, most importantly, I just want to send my prayers and my heart and send peace to that area and the people involved, and to each and every one of you, even if you're indirectly affected, but somehow you're caught in that state of fear. I just want you to know that everything's going to be all right, and even though things seem to be getting worse, they are in fact getting better. So just want everybody to know that. I hope you guys all have a great start to your new year. So yeah, let's get down to it. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing, as the song goes. So many different reasons and excuses, we should say, as to why we're in this war. Supposedly Soleimani attacked an embassy. I think one American a soldier, somebody in the area was killed, and a couple other were wounded. But we have to question everything always. Don't believe what the media and the government is telling you. Always do your own research and go within. Think on this stuff, meditate on it, understand it from a different point of view besides the view that the media and the government's trying to get you to see and to kind of force you to understand. So the first thing to understand is that the takedown of Iran and many of the Middle Eastern countries has been planned and talked about for decades. There was an American general that came forward saying, he got information at the Pentagon, and this was after 9/11, understanding that 9/11 was a cover-up and that the truth was not told about 9/11. This general was, concerned as to why we're going, to war with Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's when he later found out that there was a planned takedown of several other countries. Now, when he asked why, he wasn't really given information as to why. Even the people in the Pentagon really didn't understand.
Because I'd been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office, today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
When it comes to war, we know one thing. War is big business. It is control. It is manipulation of mass amounts of people, of currency, of goods, of resources, many different things and reasons why the elite go to war. So one thing was that Iran discovered, I think it's the third largest oil reserve in the world. Not sure about that, but I think they estimated at 52 billion barrels of oil. So recently, a couple months ago, they just happened to find this reserve. And I know Iran has a lot of gold too as well, so they have a lot of resources. Now, I don't necessarily think this is a war for oil in particular. It definitely may be. It could be an incentive. However, the oil does provide Iran with a lot of power. Even if they don't directly do business with us, it provides them power in their own economy and in their own growth. So one thing that I've noticed and I've heard insiders talk about are people called economic hitmen. Now, some of you may have heard this term, some of you have not probably, I'm assuming most of you have not, but basically what an economic hitman is, it is a man that is hired by either private institutions, almost always through private institutions, funneling, through government intelligence and, various powers that want whatever it is to happen and to take down whatever, government or economy that they are trying to go after. And people have come forward, especially during the recent wars in the Middle East, saying, hey, I was in charge. My job was to go in, speak with the leaders in charge, speak with the president, speak with government officials and say, listen, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get on a central bank currency. You guys are going to take a big loan from, such entity, and this is going to provide you with growth and wealth and prosperity. But many of these Middle Eastern countries understand what comes with this loan. They understand that, by implementing this currency and, taking the money, they're ultimately going to be controlled and manipulated for, the time to come and the time to be after. And they don't want to do that, rightfully so. They want to maintain their freedom and run the country how they see fit. So the people that send these economic hitmen in are generally paid by private institutions. Even they themselves don't know exactly, who's under the control, who's sending them. They just know they're getting a fat paycheck and bringing home the money. But call them what you want to call them. You can call them the elitist. You can call them some of the family names that owns these central banks. You can call them the cabal. You can call them, the deep state, whatever it is that you want to call them. They are, the powers that be in this third density realm that seek to control everything and everyone in it. And like we said earlier, war is obviously a way to maintain this control and to perpetuate, whatever agenda that they are trying to perpetuate. I believe the United States has an annual budget on self-defense or their military. It stands at about $1.2 trillion. That's a massive amount of money. I think it comes out to like $700 million every day that is dedicated just for self-defense and just for, ultimately war. Because, let's be real, it doesn't take $700 million a day, to keep your country safe. It takes $700 million a day to control the world and, to perpetuate whatever agenda you're trying to perpetuate. So, that's obviously part of the concern. When there's nothing going wrong, why do we need to spend $1.2 trillion on that budget? So remember that this outer reality is a reflection of our reality within and what's within us. And many of us have different realities because what's going on within us is different than what's going on within the other person. So what we're seeing in the world is really, in my opinion, the shattering of the ego. You know, we are awakening, we are becoming more connected through the spread of information, through the internet. People are really starting to understand that we're all connected and we are all one, and we got to stop the killing, and we got to stop, treating each other as separate. And, with all the wildfires going on in Australia, and, I send my prayers and my hearts out to them, and, everybody that's been affected by the fires, Amazon, out in Amazonia, and in California, we've had tons of fires too. That's where I'm out in California. And I understand that these fires are, generally normal, but there just seems to be something fishy, especially with, full-on cars and metal just completely being melted to the floor and to the ground. We see that there's some weird things going on. But anyways, I'm not trying to get off track and talk about all that. The point is that our outer reality is a reflection of what's going on within. So the ego is being shattered, and in order to maintain, that ego and that mind is to continue to perpetuate the fear. So all bullshit aside, no matter what's going on or, what the true information is, the thing that I want everybody to know, and I want each and every one of you to know, is just to remain calm. Don't live in a state of fear. Live in a state of love. Love is always going to be the answer. So remember, let love guide you. Don't live in a state of fear. Know that all things are going to be okay, and all things happen for a reason. We are shattering the ego. We are waking up. We are raising our vibration. Continue to raise your vibration. Don't live in that state of fear. If enough people live in that state of fear and become fearful, that's how you will start a World War III. That's the only reason that those things happen, is because of fear. But if we wake up and realize that, Iran is not the enemy, and all the people in it are not our enemies, and we should not be targeting, different areas and destroying their country. So yeah, remember, they want you in a state of fear. Not only the third density, people that run this world want you in a state of fear, but also whatever demonic or negative entities that, rule this matrix. I did a couple videos on the matrix and how that control system works. And if you're not familiar with that, go ahead and check out those videos. I have a playlist on the matrix, but essentially these demonic and negative entities, they feed off of a state of fear. When you are fearful and you have anxiety and doubt, these things emit a low vibrational energy. And many people are addicted to it, A lot of us are addicted to fear porn. We love to turn on the news and, anything bad that's happening, people are addicted to. I can't wait to see the day that good news is, more valuable and more concerned and sought after than the negative news. The only reason they play this negative news is, well, one, not only to maintain control, but because people watch it. If you only watched the good things and paid attention to what matters, they wouldn't have a market for that. And I'm not saying you can't, see or talk about, negative things that happen. Of course, we should still understand and know both light and dark, but, the balance has to be there. And we've definitely, shifted to a much more negative, fear-based balance in this world. So remember, stay happy, stay positive. There is no World War III in your reality if you do not let it happen. Continue to love one another, be kind, and yeah, just, be a good person, and do what's right. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you all have a great day. Remember, choose love, not fear. Sending you all peace, love, and light.